Finally, after months of slowly kind of working on this thing, I have finished my escape room popcorn machine. But you could very easily use this as a haunted house prop. I got an idea for that too. But for now, it is an escape room prop. Ooh. And here's how I made it. Today, I am going to make a popcorn machine that you'd see at like the movie theaters or carnival or something for my upcoming escape rooms. So I already cut the wood for the base, like the body of the popcorn machine. That's all sitting downstairs. So today I think, right now, I need to make the legs for it. So I'm going to do kind of like an angle L thing. It's going to be the 4 legs of the popcorn machine. I'm going to biscuit them. Probably don't need to biscuit them. I could probably just glue them and air nail them, but I'm going to put some biscuits in. So I'm going to cut those, and then we'll take a look at it. There's the pile of wood that I already cut. That's going to be the body of the popcorn machine. So earlier, I finished cutting biscuits in the... Oh man, I missed some of that glue. These are the legs of the popcorn machine. Basically just took 2 pieces of 6 foot long 3-inch wide and 6 foot long 2-inch wide and biscuited them together and then air nailed them. I did it, but now I'm going to measure this out and biscuit it and then put it together. Well, I've assembled a lot of the popcorn machine, you can see. Then I went ahead and trimmed it out too with some 1x3. Now the sides and the back I left open down here. I just put legs. I'm going to put the electronics for it underneath. But so far so good. Looking pretty decent. Next thing I need to do is put the bottom of it on, as well as like a little slot to stick a popcorn box in. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that popcorn box, you're going to stick it in here, it's going to trigger a sensor, and drop a key into the popcorn box. I got the bottom cut, I got it just set it in here in the popcorn machine, and I've got the little popcorn box slot built. Basically I just took and ripped down some 3/4 inch project board and biscuited it together. So once I fasten it to the bottom and the side, you stick your thing of popcorn in here, key will fall in through here, and then this will all be plexiglass, and I'm going to trim this out too. The plexiglass is going to be fastened to the front of this. Well, I got that all done. I basically just biscuited this sucker in. Used these number 10 biscuits, glued it, shot a couple nails in from an air nailer in the bottom, in here, and then in the side here. Glued the bottom down and air nailed it. Bug. Continuing to work on this popcorn machine. So what I've done today is I've cut the plexiglass to stick in front, and I've also cut, let's see if you can look at that, biscuited the front of this to put a little frame around it. There we go, sorry. Like that, and then the plexiglass will have some place to screw onto the back of that, and it kind of just frames this opening, making it nice and pretty. Got the frame on there, got the plexiglass cut and fit. It's not fastened. I still need to go and look to see if I have some small screws for that. Obviously I still have the protective paper on the back of it. This turned out okay. It'll hold. That glue's gonna dry, and it's a pretty good looking frame. moving along on my popcorn machine. What I got here is my kettle. I could have bought a kettle offline for like 40 bucks, but I'm cheap and I wanted it homemade. So it's not, you know, it doesn't look exactly like a popcorn kettle. I just got this pan at Salvation Army, and then I made a little wood bracket. I know it doesn't look exactly like they look in a popcorn machine, but it'll hold it in there. So what I did for the bracket is I took, you know, a couple pieces of this pine and I dadoed it a little bit, just enough to fit the groove of this pan in there, and then just put a couple bolts in. And this, well, it looks, I know this is the part that looks a little weird to me, but it supports the bracket. And I can have the lid in there. I can have the lid in there like that, and I'll have some popcorn coming out of it. Now I'll talk about, for a few minutes, the electronics that's going to be used in my popcorn machine. The overall thought of the popcorn machine is simple. I'm going to have a key up top that's going to be held in place by an electromagnet, and then you're going to get a popcorn bucket that's going to have a sensor in it, which this is just loosely sitting in here. I still got some work to do on the popcorn thing. You're going to place the popcorn bucket in the machine, and the key is going to drop in it. It's real simple. It's not even really much of a puzzle, but I really wanted to make a popcorn machine, and this is what I decided to do. So what we got here is an RFID kit. I got this cash and carry at Transworld, I believe, and I don't even remember the vendor, and there was zero documentation with it, so I had to kind of mess around with it a little bit. And in fact, I bought a few of them, and it kind of set me back for a little bit, because without documentation I had to figure out how this thing worked, and the first one I was messing with was broken. So I had to go and grab a second one, because I was like, what in the world is going on with this stupid thing? So what you have here is you have a black wire, a red wire, and a white wire. Okay, these are powered by 12 volts, which means you take the red wire and connect it to 12 volt positive, and you take this black ground wire and connect it to ground. I'm just going to gloss over this. I'm going to talk very simply on the electronics of it. If people want, I can make a more detailed video on exactly how the electronics work on this, but I'm just going to kind of try to be simple with it for this video. So, your red wire, black wire, power. This white wire, with nothing on the RFID sensor, without anything touching the sensor, has a potential of 0 volts. Okay? If you take those RFID chips, one of these, and you place it on that sensor, you will now have a 12 volt potential between the white wire and the ground wire. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to somehow interface that with this magnet, because you want the magnet to be on. This is also a 12 volt electromagnet. As you can see, it's got this piece of metal that I stuck on here, and it's not coming off. So what I did was I went and found I had a whole bag of these 12 volt relays right there. I've had them for years, so luckily with what a 12 volt relay means is if you don't know what a relay is, you've got a common peg, and then you've got a normally open terminal and a normally closed terminal. Okay? What that means is if you connect to the common without the relay being powered, you have a continuous path, or it's connected to the normally closed. Imagine it like a switch. It's like a closed switch with the normally closed. So I take 12 volts and put it to the common on here, and then I take my electromagnet, which is a 12 volt magnet, and I take the positive lead, which is the red lead, and I connect it to the normally closed, and then I take the black lead, which is ground, and I run it back to ground. Because that circuit is closed currently, as soon as I power it up, it makes connection, it powers up this magnet, and it's on, 12 volts, on all the time. So, inside this relay there's also a coil, okay? And if you apply 12 volts to that coil, because it's a 12 volt relay, it'll engage, it'll take that common peg, and it'll make connection. Instead of it being connected to the normally closed, you power up the relay, boom, it goes over and closes and makes contact to the normally open. And this is where you'll have connection. So now, because the magnet is hooked up to the normally closed and it's no longer being powered, it drops the piece of metal. See? And the popcorn machine will actually be a key. So that's the real basic how a relay works. And like I said, I didn't have any documentation on that, so I kind of just came up with this. Seemed like the most basic, easiest way to make this work. The other thing to keep in mind, if you are going to make this, you do need a feedback diode between across your coil, okay, with the anode facing the direction that power is coming in. That way it doesn't short it around it. You know, and like I said, if you're unclear on what that means, I can make another little in-depth video on that. But the reason you want that is because when you take away the power and collapse the coil, there's a discharge voltage, and you don't want it. You want to force that discharge voltage to discharge down to ground, because there's no load on this. It's just a relay. Okay, you know what I mean? So there's nothing going to automatically kind of pull that or force that voltage to discharge to ground. So the diode does it. Otherwise, you potentially could damage whatever source or any other circuitry in front of that, is basically what I'm saying. So alright, so let's go get this thing installed in the popcorn machine. One more quick note on these. Like I said, I bought this just the unit itself from somebody, but I do think Fright Props sells an RFID kit, and I think the kit comes with some sort of an interface, so you probably wouldn't even have to worry about this. I don't know exactly what comes with it or what you can buy for it, because they may, whatever it is, they may actually have designed to go with their controllers, but there's a chance they didn't. There's a chance it's just a relay board. But I would suggest probably, if you're uncomfortable, if you're not good with electronics, or you're uncomfortable, you know, making something on your own, probably check out what they got, because I'm pretty sure they've got a whole kit, and it's probably inexpensive. I don't know why it seems to rain every single time I've got some time to work on a prop, but it does. As you can see, it's raining, and it's a cold friggin' rain today too, but nevertheless I can kind of work here in some cover. First thing I need to do is cut a hole in the bottom of the popcorn machine to slip just this sensor, because I don't want the rest of the electronics mounted underneath. I want to actually mount them right here, and they'll be obscured behind this anyway. And what I'm going to use to cut is a hole saw, and unfortunately the only hole saw I have big enough for this thing to fit through is a lot bigger than the sensor, so that's kind of a bummer. The electronics are all mounted in here, up there. I need to get a cover for this wire. For right now I just got it stapled to the side, which is fine. I've got my sensor in place, I've got my kettle up here, and now I'm ready to put popcorn in here. So what I'm going to do for the popcorn is I'm going to spray great stuff all over the inside of it and in the kettle, and then I'm actually going to stick popcorn into the great stuff while it's drying. I'm also going to put popcorn in the plastic popcorn container. You can see down there I've taken my RFID chip and hot glued it to the bottom of this, which if anything ever goes wrong with that, it's going to be awful hard to get out, but that's why I bought lots of spares of these, and I have spare RFID chips. I got my layer of popcorn. Now the reason I chose great stuff was more or less because I thought, well, I know that the great stuff, as you can see, will hold the popcorn in place. I've done stuff such as put Halloween candy in great stuff for other props that I've done at my haunt, but I figured that when the great stuff kind of expands with the popcorn on top of it, it would sort of blend in, you know what I mean? And then I got some in here. And I got some in here. But there's one more step left for this. So I've pretty much finished up the popcorn machine. So in order to do the popcorn, you saw I put the great stuff down, and I stuck the regular popcorn on top of it, and then I took like an amber shellac and coated the whole thing so it looked like old, nasty, rotten popcorn. I may go back over and make a little bit of mold on there, but for now I'm going to leave it like this. And the reason I wanted that kind of popcorn is because the style of escape room that I thought up for this takes place in an old, abandoned theater. So I figured the popcorn wouldn't be fresh. But then I got the lid on here, I got my electronics hooked up, and I'll give you a demonstration of this guy working. So we got the front of our popcorn machine. I got my little RFID bucket. I'll stick it in here. Boom. Keys fall in. Not bad. So I got a little bit of touch-up work to do on it. Some of the paint bled through my paint job. I put paint tape over that to do the yellow, but it kind of bled through the tape anyway. So got a little touch-up to do there. And like I said, I might mold over that popcorn. I may end up getting more, putting even more popcorn in there. I'm not sure yet. And then obviously I'm going to tuck the wires back in there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. But anyway, thanks for watching this. It was a long build. Took me, I think I started this in May, and I've just been busy building other things and traveling and whatever. So it took a while. But I'll be back to doing regular haunted house props coming up. I got some cool builds coming. So anyway, take care. Thanks for watching. Alright, Jakey. Make it work. What do you do? Good job.